before the world knew the name, before the iconic Swoosh became a symbol of victory on every court, field, and track across the globe, before millions of athletes felt the power of innovation on their feet. There was a young man from Oregon running. His name was Phil Knight. This is not a story about sneakers. This is a story about a crazy idea. Phil Knight wasn't born in the heart of the business world. He was a quiet, unassuming kid from Portland, Oregon. He was an average student, but he found his true self on the track. He was a decent middle-distance runner at the University of Oregon, coached by the legendary Bill Bowerman, a man who believed performance could be engineered. Bowerman was obsessed with making his runners faster, constantly tinkering with their shoes, shaving off ounces, adding different kinds of support, searching for any possible edge. This environment wasn't just about running. It was a laboratory of athletic innovation. Knight absorbed this ethos, this relentless pursuit of better. The track became his classroom, and Bowerman's obsession with performance planted a seed in his mind. He didn't just want to run. He wanted to change how people run. This early passion for the sport, combined with Bowerman's unorthodox methods, formed the bedrock of his future. The lessons learned on that cinder track about persistence, about the fine margins of victory, and about the power of equipment would stay with him long after he hung up his running spikes. He didn't know it yet, but these formative years were shaping a vision that would one day redefine the entire sporting landscape. A vision born not in a boardroom, but on the muddy tracks of the Pacific Northwest. After graduating, Phil Knight found himself at a crossroads, a common predicament for many young graduates. He enrolled in Stanford's prestigious MBA program, searching for a direction, a purpose beyond the familiar rhythm of the running track. It was in a small business class that the spark ignited into a full-blown idea. For his final paper, he wrote about the untapped potential of manufacturing high-quality, low-cost running shoes in Japan and importing them to the American market. At the time, German brands like Adidas and Puma dominated the athletic footwear industry with expensive, well-crafted shoes. Knight's paper theorized that a Japanese alternative could disrupt this monopoly, offering comparable quality at a more accessible price point. It was a bold, audacious concept. His professor gave him a decent grade, but likely thought little more of it. For Knight, however, it was more than just an academic exercise. He called it his crazy idea. It was a thought that wouldn't let him go. This idea consumed him, blending his love for running with the business acumen he was acquiring. He saw a gap in the market that no one else seemed to notice, a path that others had overlooked. He wasn't just writing a paper to pass a class. He was drafting the blueprint for his life's work. The crazy idea was the starting point, the moment of conception for what would become a global phenomenon. With his MBA complete and the crazy idea burning in his mind, Phil Knight embarked on a trip around the world. His primary destination was Japan. He scheduled a meeting with Onitsuka Tiger, a Japanese shoe manufacturer known for its quality footwear. Walking into their offices, a young, recent graduate with no company, no real business plan, and barely any money, he had to improvise. When they asked what company he represented, he blurted out the first name that came to mind, Blue Ribbon Sports. It was a name born of pure, on-the-spot necessity. He passionately pitched his vision, his crazy idea, from Stanford, arguing for the potential of their shoes in the American market. To his own astonishment, the executives at Onitsuka were intrigued. They saw the fire in his eyes, the genuine belief in his pitch. They agreed to send him samples. The first shipment of Tiger running shoes arrived not at a fancy warehouse or a corporate office, but at his parents' house in Oregon. The company's first headquarters was his childhood bedroom, its first warehouse the family's laundry room. He stored the shoe boxes wherever he could find space, turning the family home into a makeshift distribution center. He began selling the shoes out of the trunk of his Plymouth Valiant at track meets across the Pacific Northwest. He would drive from event to event, talking to runners, coaches, and fans, showing them the shoes, explaining their benefits. Each sale was a small victory, a validation of his crazy idea. The initial days of Blue Ribbon Sports were a constant struggle. The business was built on a shoestring budget. held together by sheer willpower and a deep-seated belief in the product. Knight continued to work as an accountant during the day, pouring every spare dollar and every waking hour into his fledgling shoe business. His first partner was his former coach, the gruff and brilliant Bill Bowerman. Bowerman wasn't just a figurehead. He was the heart of the company's innovation. He would take the Onitsuka shoes, tear them apart, and rebuild them, relentlessly experimenting to make them lighter, more comfortable, and better for runners. His most famous invention came one morning at the breakfast table. Staring at his wife's waffle iron, he had a moment of inspiration. He poured liquid rubber into the waffle iron, creating a new kind of sole with a grid-like pattern that provided unprecedented traction and cushioning. This waffle sole was a revolutionary breakthrough, a tangible piece of innovation that set Blue Ribbon's modified shoes apart. While Knight handled the business side, Bowerman was the mad scientist in the workshop, his relentless tinkering giving the company a competitive edge. It was this perfect partnership, the visionary salesman and the genius inventor, allowed Blue Ribbon Sports to survive and slowly begin to grow. As Blue Ribbon Sports gained a foothold, the relationship with their supplier, Onitsuka Tiger, began to sour. The Japanese company grew wary of Blue Ribbon's success and sought more control, threatening to cut them off and find a new distributor. Knight and Bowerman faced a terrifying prospect. The company they had poured their lives into could be destroyed overnight. This betrayal, however, became a catalyst for their greatest leap forward. They realized they could no longer depend on another company for their survival. They had to create their own brand, design their own shoes, and control their own destiny. They needed a new name. They needed a logo. The name Nike, after the Greek goddess of victory, was suggested in a flash of inspiration by their first employee, Jeff Johnson. For the logo, Knight approached a young graphic design student at Portland State University named Carolyn Davidson. He told her he needed something that conveyed motion and speed. For the modest fee of $35, she created a simple, elegant checkmark, the Swoosh. At first, Knight wasn't entirely sold on it. "I don't love it," he famously said, "but maybe it will grow on me." This pivotal moment, born out of a crisis, marked the true birth of Nike. Blue Ribbon Sports was shed, and a new identity emerged, one that would soon become the most recognizable brand in the world. With a new name and a powerful new logo, Nike exploded onto the scene. The company's philosophy was different. They didn't just sell shoes, they told stories. They celebrated the grit, the sweat, and the struggle of the athlete. Their marketing campaigns were bold, rebellious, and deeply emotional. They signed a brash young runner named Steve Prefontaine, whose defiant attitude and record-breaking performances perfectly embodied the spirit of the brand. Nike commercials weren't just about products. They were about the relentless pursuit of greatness. The Just Do It slogan, introduced in 1988, became more than just an advertising tagline. It was a global mantra, a call to action that resonated with millions. It was a simple yet profound message that empowered people to push their limits, whether they were elite athletes or everyday individuals trying to get fit. Nike didn't just market to athletes. It created a culture where everyone could feel like one. The brand became synonymous with aspiration, determination, and victory. The growth was exponential, moving from the trunks of cars to stores in every corner of the world, all fueled by this powerful, emotionally resonant brand identity. Phil Knight became a billionaire, a titan of industry. But his legacy isn't measured solely in profits or market share. It is measured in the cultural shift he inspired. He proved that a crazy idea from a kid in Oregon could change the world, that a passion for sports could build an empire, that a brand could be about more than just a product. It could be about a spirit. Knight and Nike gave a voice to the athlete's journey. They made us believe that greatness isn't reserved for a select few, but is something that lives within all of us. Phil Knight didn't just follow a path. He ran his own race and created one for others to follow. He took a simple idea and, through relentless determination, turned it into a global symbol of human potential. From the trunk of a car to the pinnacle of global culture. This is not just a business success story. This is what happens when you just do it. This is LuxoVision,